You're suffocating me, Matthew. This is exactly why I need space. You're insecure, controlling, and honestly, maybe I made a mistake saying yes to you. Those words hit me like a freight train at 2 in the morning, standing in our brand new living room surrounded by empty wine bottles and crushed party decorations. My name is Matthew Davis, and 12 hours ago, I watched my fiancée kiss her ex-boyfriend at our engagement party. When I tried to talk about it, she made me the villain. Please, before we continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it really started, 3 days before the party that would destroy everything. I was in our bedroom, the master suite we'd spent weeks renovating together, choosing paint colors and arguing over whether the accent wall should be navy or charcoal. Laura had chosen navy. I'd given in like always. The afternoon sun cut through our new curtains and I could hear the shower running. She was singing something off-key, happy, completely unaware I was about to see something that would crack the foundation of our entire relationship. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't that guy. I'd walked past to grab my watch when the screen illuminated with a message preview, Blake Redheart, can't wait to see you tomorrow night, smirking face. My hand froze halfway to my watch. Blake. The ex-boyfriend she'd mentioned exactly twice in 3 years, always in past tense, always dismissively. Oh, we dated in college but it wasn't serious. That Blake. With a heart emoji. I stood there like an idiot, staring at that screen, my heart doing this weird stuttering thing in my chest. The shower was still running. I could grab the phone, read the full conversation, know everything in 30 seconds. My hand hovered over it. I'd never invaded her privacy before. We had trust. We had honesty. We had. The shower shut off. I grabbed my watch and walked out of the bedroom like I'd seen nothing. Like my hands weren't shaking. Like the floor hadn't just tilted sideways beneath my feet. Here's what you need to understand about me. I grew up watching my father cheat on my mother for 15 years. I watched her find evidence, confront him, forgive him, repeat. I watched her soul shrink a little more each time until the day she finally packed a suitcase and told 16-year-old me, "Don't be like me, Matthew. Don't love someone more than you love yourself." So I became the opposite of my father. Loyal to a fault. Trusting even when my gut screamed warnings. I told myself that suspicion was poison, that real love meant believing the best in someone even when the worst seemed possible. Standing in our hallway that afternoon, pretending I hadn't seen that message, I was my mother all over again. Choosing blindness over truth. Choosing hope over evidence. That evening, Laura emerged from the bedroom in a cloud of new perfume, something expensive I didn't recognize. We were addressing party invitations at the kitchen table, the fancy ones with embossed gold lettering that cost $3 each. Our names intertwined at the top. Matthew and Laura invite you to celebrate. Should we invite your college crowd? I asked, keeping my voice casual while my heart hammered against my ribs. Her eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. Oh my God, yes. Actually, Blake just moved back to town. We should totally invite him. My pen stopped moving across the envelope. Blake? Your ex-Blake. She laughed, this light, dismissive sound that made me feel stupid for even questioning. Matt, that was like 6 years ago. Ancient history. He's practically family to our whole friend group. It would be so weird and awkward if we didn't invite him, you know? People would talk. I tried to find the right words, tried to express the knot forming in my stomach without sounding jealous or insecure. I don't know if I'm comfortable with. Comfortable with what? Her tone shifted, sharpening. Matthew, are you seriously telling me who I can and can't invite to our party? That's actually really concerning behavior. My therapist warned me about controlling partners. There it was. The weapon she'd learned to wield perfectly. Therapy language turned into a shield for bad behavior. Boundaries became controlling. Concerns became insecurity. Questions became toxic. My sister Sarah had warned me about this 6 months ago, right after Laura and I got engaged. We were at Sarah's apartment, celebrating with cheap champagne, and Sarah pulled me aside. Matt, I love that you're happy, but does Laura ever actually take responsibility when you fight? Or does she always make it about your reaction instead of her action? I defended Laura then. Told Sarah she didn't understand our dynamic, that Laura was just confident and strong-willed. Now, sitting across from my fiancée as she weaponized psychology terms against my gut instinct, I heard Sarah's voice echoing in my head. No, of course not, I said finally, forcing a smile. Invite Blake. You're right. It would be weird not to. She beamed, leaned over and kissed my cheek. Thank you for being mature about this. This is why I'm marrying you. She texted someone immediately after. I pretended not to notice. The night of the party arrived. Our house looked perfect, string lights across the back patio, a bartender I'd hired as a surprise, catered appetizers on trays shaped like little cutting boards. Laura had spent 2 hours getting ready, changing outfits 3 times, finally settling on a dress I'd never seen before. Red. Tight. Blake's favorite color, according to a detail she'd mentioned once and probably forgotten she'd told me. The doorbell rang at 7:30. I opened it to find Blake Thornton standing there with a smile that belonged on a cologne advertisement and a bottle of wine that probably cost more than our security deposit. "You must be Matthew." His handshake was too firm, lasted too long, established dominance in a way that seemed effortless. "I'm Blake. I've heard so much about you, man. Laura cannot stop talking about how amazing you are." He handed the wine past me, directly to Laura, who'd appeared at my shoulder. "For the lady of the house. A 2015 Chateau Margaux. I remember you loved French reds." She blushed. Actually blushed. "Blake, this is like $500. Nothing's too good for you. Congratulations on the engagement. And this house." He walked past me into our entryway like he owned it, his eyes scanning everything. Laura always did have impeccable taste. He said her name 7 times in the first 10 minutes. He knew details about the renovation I'd never told anyone. The imported tile in the master bathroom, the custom built-ins in the study. She must have sent him photos. They must have talked more than she'd admitted. My sister Sarah arrived an hour later. I watched her eyes track Blake and Laura across the living room, watched her jaw tighten when Blake touched Laura's lower back while reaching for a drink. Sarah found me in the kitchen. "Matt, we need to talk about this." "Not now, Sarah." "Yes, now. That guy is all over your fiancée and she's letting him. They're old friends. I trust her." Sarah grabbed my arm. "You sound exactly like Mom. Right before Dad destroyed her." I pulled away, anger flashing hot. "I'm nothing like Mom. And Laura is nothing like Dad." But even as I said it, I didn't believe it anymore. By 11 p.m. someone suggested party games. Rebecca, Laura's best friend, produced a deck of cards and announced truth or dare like we were all 19 again. The first few rounds were harmless. Someone had to call their ex, someone had to do a shot standing on one leg, everyone laughed. Then Blake drew a card. Rebecca read it aloud, her voice slightly slurred, "Kiss someone here you've dated before." The room went silent. Everyone knew about Blake and Laura. I was standing in the kitchen doorway 12 feet away, holding 2 beers I'd just opened. I watched Blake stand up slowly, watched him lock eyes with Laura across the room. "Blake, don't you dare," she said, but she was giggling. Not firm. Not serious. Not the voice you use when you actually mean stop. He walked toward her. She didn't move away. Didn't stand up. Didn't look at me. I should have said something. Should have stepped forward, made a joke, defused the moment. But I was frozen, trapped in some nightmare version of my own party, watching my fiancée about to kiss her ex-boyfriend in the house we'd bought together. The kiss lasted 8 seconds. I counted every one. Her hand went to his chest, not pushing away, just resting there. The room erupted in nervous laughter and ohs that felt like they were happening underwater. I set the beers down on the counter very carefully, like they were made of dynamite. Then I walked to the bathroom, locked the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. My face was white. My hands were shaking. There was a knock. "Matt? You okay?" "James, my best friend." "Yeah, fine. Just needed a minute." Through the door, I could hear the party continuing. Laura's laugh rising above the others. Someone turned up the music. Life moved on like nothing had happened. I splashed water on my face and made a decision. I wasn't my mother. I wasn't going to ignore this. But I also wasn't going to explode in front of everyone and give Laura ammunition to paint me as the crazy, jealous fiancé. I was going to be smart about this. The last guest left at 2 a.m. I'd spent the final hours cleaning silently, collecting cups and plates, avoiding Laura. She was tipsy, happy, riding the high of a successful party. When the door closed behind the final couple, she turned to me with a smile that died when she saw my face. "Okay, I know you're mad, but it was literally just a game, Matt." You kissed him back. "Oh my God, here we go. I knew you'd make this a thing." She threw her hands up, her voice rising. "Everyone saw it was harmless. You're the one making it weird. Blake is happy for us. He's in a relationship, for crying out loud." "He's in a relationship?" First I'd heard of it. Not that it matters, but yes. You're acting jealous over nothing. It was a dare. What was I supposed to do, make a scene and embarrass everyone? I tried to stay calm, tried to use the communication techniques we'd learned in premarital counseling. "Laura, I'm not trying to fight. I just need you to understand that watching you kiss another man. Another man? He's a friend. An old friend. God, Matthew, you're suffocating me. This is exactly why I need space. You're insecure, controlling, and honestly, maybe I made a mistake saying yes to you. The words landed like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward. She must have seen something in my face because her expression shifted, softened slightly. I didn't mean that. I'm drunk and tired. Can we talk about this tomorrow? Sure, I heard myself say. Tomorrow. She disappeared into the guest bedroom. We'd been fighting enough lately that she'd started sleeping there when she was mad. The door clicked shut. The lock turned. I stood alone in our living room, surrounded by the debris of our party, and remembered finding my mother in our garage when I was 16. Suitcase packed. Face destroyed by tears. I'm leaving, she'd said. I should have done this years ago. Don't be like me, Matthew. I'd raised Sarah after that. Became the parent at 16 because Dad spiraled into whiskey and bitterness. I'd promised myself I'd never be in a relationship like theirs, would never ignore red flags or accept disrespect. Yet here I stood. I picked up Laura's phone from the couch. She'd left it unlocked like always when we were home. My hands shook as I opened her messages. The conversation with Blake went back 6 weeks. 6 weeks of late-night texts, heart emojis, inside jokes I didn't understand. I scrolled through them all, my stomach churning. Blake, seeing you at Sarah's wedding last month reminded me what I gave up. Biggest regret of my life. Laura, Blake, we were kids. It was a long time ago. Blake, some things don't change. You're still the most incredible woman I've ever known. Does he appreciate you? Really appreciate you? Laura, it's complicated. Matt's great, but sometimes I wonder if we settled for safe instead of passionate. Blake, it's not too late. People make mistakes all the time. Laura, I'm engaged. Blake, to the right person? Because watching you tonight. And then, sent at 3:47 a.m., after the party, after our fight, after she'd locked herself in the guest room, a new message from Laura to Blake. I can still feel that kiss fire, we need to talk soon. Alone. I screenshot everything. Sent the images to my own phone. Deleted the evidence of my snooping. Put her phone back exactly where I'd found it. Then I sat on our couch until sunrise, thinking about my mother crying in that garage, about my sister at 12 years old asking why Daddy hurt Mommy, about every promise I'd made myself about the kind of man I'd be. When light finally crept through our windows, I made breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh coffee. Laura emerged from the guest bedroom at 8:30, confused by the smell of food, wary of my mood. Morning, beautiful, I said, kissing her forehead like nothing had happened. Hungry? She stared at me, completely thrown. Yeah. Are we okay? We're perfect, I lied, setting a plate in front of her. I overreacted last night. You were right. It was just a game. The relief on her face would have been touching if it wasn't so insulting. She actually thought I'd rolled over. Thought I'd accepted the gaslighting and moved on. She had no idea I'd just declared war. I reached out to James that afternoon while Laura was at yoga. I need a favor. It's about Blake Thornton. Finally, James said. I've been waiting for you to see what everyone else already knows. Turns out Blake had a reputation. James connected me with Angela Reeves, Blake's ex-girlfriend from 4 years ago. We met at a coffee shop downtown, far from anywhere Laura might be. Angela was pretty, put together, and the moment she sat down, I saw something in her eyes I recognized. The wariness of someone who'd survived a predator. Let me guess, she said before I could introduce myself. Blake suddenly reappeared in your fiancée's life? Charming, successful, full of compliments? Making her feel special and questioning her choice? I nodded, throat tight. You're the third engagement he's tried to destroy that I know about. Probably more I don't. She pulled out her phone, showed me screenshots. Blake with different women, all wearing engagement rings in the photos. He collects other men's fiancées like trophies. It's not about love. It's about conquest. Why? I asked. What kind of person does this? Angela's laugh was bitter. I dated him for 4 years. Thought we'd get married. Then he became obsessed with a coworker who got engaged. I watched him pursue her for months, just as friends, he said. She left her fiancé for him. Blake slept with her once and ghosted both of us the same day. She showed me more evidence. Messages to other women. A pattern so clear it was almost algorithmic. Blake pursued unavailable women, convinced them to leave their partners, then vanished the moment they were free. Once they choose him, they're worthless to him, Angela explained. He only values what he can't have. It's pathological. Laura doesn't know this? Of course not. He's too smart for that. He plays the reformed bad boy, tells them they're different, special. By the time they realize the truth, they've already blown up their lives. She leaned forward. You seem like a good guy. Don't let him destroy what you built. I thanked her, started to leave, then turned back. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. Because no one helped me. And because there's too many Blakes in the world and not enough Matthews. I called my sister from the parking lot. Sarah, I need your help. And Laura can't know. 2 weeks later, I gathered everything I needed. Screenshots, testimonials, Angela's evidence, Rebecca's reluctant admission that she'd seen Laura and Blake kissing in his car outside Nordstrom the week before the party. It had taken me 3 phone calls to get Rebecca to admit the truth, and even then she'd cried through the whole confession. I didn't want to be the one to ruin your relationship, Rebecca sobbed. I thought maybe I misunderstood what I saw. You saw them making out for 5 minutes, I said flatly. What's to misunderstand? Now I sat at our kitchen table, designing invitations on my laptop. Elegant, formal. Join Matthew and Laura for an intimate pre-wedding celebration dinner. A night of truth, love, and new beginnings. Laura walked past, saw the design, and actually gasped with delight. Matt, this is so beautiful. A pre-wedding dinner? That's so romantic. I thought it would be nice to celebrate with our closest friends. Before the chaos of the actual wedding. I love it. Can we invite Blake? I know things got weird at the party, but I'd really like him to be part of our celebration. Of course, I said, smiling. I'll call him personally. That afternoon I did exactly that. Hey Blake, it's Matthew. Listen, I want to apologize for being weird after the party. I was jealous and immature. You're clearly important to Laura, and I respect that. Wow, Matthew, that's really mature of you. I just believe in honesty. Everything coming to light, you know? Anyway, we're doing a pre-wedding dinner next Saturday. Private dining room at the Gardens. I really hope you can make it. Absolutely, man. I'll be there. After I hung up, Sarah asked, Are you sure about this? I tested the projector I'd rented for the restaurant. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The private dining room at the Gardens was perfect. Intimate, elegant, with a projector screen that pulled down behind the head table. 20 of our closest friends and family. Laura glowed in a silver dress, kept squeezing my hand under the table, whispering about how much she loved me. Blake sat 3 seats down, confident and relaxed, occasionally catching Laura's eye across the table. First course was served. Wine flowed. Soft music played. I waited until dessert arrived, then stood, tapping my champagne glass. The room quieted. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Warm smiles around the table. Laura beamed up at me. When Laura and I got engaged, I thought I knew what love meant. Commitment. Trust. Building a future together. The projector screen descended smoothly behind me. Several people glanced at it curiously. But recently, I've learned that love requires something I forgot. Attention. The first image appeared, a photo from our house party. Blake and Laura mid-kiss. Laura told me this was just a game. That I was overreacting. The room went silent. Laura's face drained of color. Matthew, what are you? But games have rules. Next slide. Screenshots of their messages, timestamps starting 6 weeks before the party. And breaking trust isn't part of them. Matthew, stop this. Laura stood up, her chair scraping loudly. I kept my voice calm, almost gentle. You told me I was insecure, jealous, controlling. You made me question my own sanity. More messages appeared on screen. Blake's biggest regret text. Laura's, we settled for safe instead of passionate response. Blake stood up, tried to leave. James materialized behind him, blocking the exit. Sit down. We're not done. Wait, I said, clicking to the next slide. There's more. The next slide appeared, Blake's pattern. 3 photos of Blake with 3 different women, all wearing engagement rings, all looking at him the way Laura had at our party. Meet Sarah, Jennifer, and Amanda. All engaged when Blake entered their lives. All convinced to leave their fiancés. All dumped within weeks of becoming available. I played a video compilation I'd made. 3 women recorded testimonials. He made me feel special until I left my fiancé. Then he vanished. He told me my fiancé didn't appreciate me. I believed him. Worst decision of my life. He's a predator who hunts engaged women as sport. Laura turned to Blake, her face a mask of horror and humiliation. Blake? Blake. You said I was different. You said. Laura, this is taken completely out of context. Context. I pulled up one more message. You texted her 3 times the charm last Tuesday. The message filled the screen. Blake's face went white. Laura started crying, but not tears of remorse, tears of embarrassment. You could have talked to me privately. You didn't have to humiliate me in front of everyone. Like you humiliated me? Kissing another man in our house? In front of our friends. Rebecca suddenly stood up, her voice shaking. Laura, I need to say something I should have said weeks ago. Everyone turned to her. Rebecca's hands were trembling. I saw you. 2 weeks before the house party. Outside Nordstrom. In Blake's car. Gasps rippled around the table. You were kissing him. For like 5 minutes. I thought you'd tell Matthew yourself. I didn't want to be the one to. Rebecca, you're lying? I have a photo. Time-stamped. Rebecca showed her phone to the guests nearby. Several people leaned in, then looked at Laura with disgust. Another friend spoke up. I saw suspicious texts on girls' night. You said you were confused about Blake. The dam broke. Friend after friend admitted they'd seen signs, noticed things, stayed silent because it wasn't their business. Laura was surrounded by her own lies unraveling. She looked desperately at Matthew. Please, can we talk alone? No. I pulled out a manila folder from under my chair. Legal documents. I've already spoken to a lawyer. The house is in both our names. I've had it appraised. Market value is $740,000. We paid $580. Laura's eyes went wide. What are you? I want my half. $370,000. You have 30 days to buy me out or we sell. I don't have that kind of money. That's not my problem. You have options. Get a loan, sell the house, ask your parents. But I'm done. I slid the engagement ring off my finger. Yes, I wore one too, matching bands we'd bought together, and set it on the table. The engagement is off. I've already moved my things out. I'm staying with James. Laura's hand instinctively covered her engagement ring. My grandmother's ring, the one my mother gave me before she left. Matt, please? I'd like my grandmother's ring back. Tonight. Blake tried to stand again. Man, this is between you two. I finally let emotion crack through my calm facade. You don't get to speak. You're a coward who targets women too weak to resist your ego. You prey on people's doubts and insecurities because you're so empty inside that destruction is the only thing that makes you feel powerful. I turned back to Laura. I loved you. I would have given you everything. You chose drama over devotion. You chose validation over commitment. I picked up my coat. The lawyer will be in touch about the house. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, Laura's voice rose to a scream. You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back. I stopped at the doorway, turned one last time. The entire table was staring at me, some with pity, some with respect, most with shock. No, Laura. For the first time in 6 months, I finally see clearly. You didn't just betray me. You made me doubt myself, question my sanity, apologize for having boundaries. That ends tonight. Sarah appeared at my side, linked her arm through mine. Let's go, big brother. As we walked out, I heard Laura sobbing, Rebecca trying to comfort her, Blake making excuses no one was listening to. The restaurant felt like it was underwater, sounds muffled and distant. Outside, the night air hit my face like freedom. 3 months later, I sat in a different coffee shop, sunlight streaming through windows that didn't carry memories of betrayal. My phone buzzed. A text from Angela. How are you doing? We'd been talking since the dinner. At first, just as survivors of Blake's manipulation, comparing notes. Then as friends. Then, carefully, as something more. Better every day, I typed back. Coffee this week? I'd love that. I thought about my mother in that garage, telling me not to love someone more than I loved myself. I thought about raising Sarah, watching her become a fierce lawyer who now helped other people escape toxic relationships. I thought about the house I'd walked away from, not because I couldn't fight for it, but because I finally understood it represented a future built on lies. Laura had called 47 times in 3 months. I'd answered exactly 0. Through Sarah, I learned she'd borrowed money from her parents to buy me out. The humiliation of explaining why had apparently been worse than the debt. Blake had ghosted her within 2 weeks, exactly as predicted. She'd sent me long emails about how she'd made a mistake, how therapy had shown her the error of her ways, how she wanted me back. I deleted them all unread. Because here's what I finally understood. Some people will only value you after you refuse to accept less than you deserve. And by then it's too late. My phone buzzed again. Angela, same coffee shop where we first met? Full circle? I smiled, typing back, perfect. See you at 2. As I stood to leave, I caught my reflection in the coffee shop window. I looked different somehow, lighter, clearer, like I'd been carrying weight I didn't know existed until I set it down. My mother left my father when I was 16. It took her 15 years to find that courage. I'd found mine in 6 months. Maybe I wasn't like her after all. Maybe I was better.